Pam,
Hello.
we're
Nice to
back.
see you. We're back.
It's been a minute since we recorded our last episode, but it's a lot's happened, which is typical in the world of AI these days. Things are getting launched daily. It's crazy.
Well, and it's so interesting because, um, I've been talking to folks about what we're doing here with the podcast and everything. And I think that, the common refrain is you just can't keep up,
Oh,
right? And
it's
you really
so
can't.
true. It's so true. I mean, I try hard to keep up. Like I listen to podcasts and all this other stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
try a lot of things out. But honestly, a couple weeks ago, I got to the point where I'm like overwhelmed and like I got a I got a job that I got to do too, right?
Right? Right?
And it could be a full-time job, kind of trying to track the state of AI today. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, ChatGPT 5.1 came out just the other day, and there's all kinds of new stuff from Anthropic, and not to mention, I mean, that's just the two,
Right?
all the other ones too.
Yeah.
New companies sprouting up out of nowhere all the time with
Mm-hmm.
ideas. Most of them are wrappers of ChatGPT
Right.
or Anthropic or something. But um, yeah, I mean, it's been. I kind of took a little bit of break in the last
Yep.
couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we took a couple of weeks off recording this podcast, so that was sort of helpful, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I said, I had to kind of refocus my efforts on the rest of my job.
Right, right.
Um,
And just related to that, it's interesting because um, there's been a little bit lately about organizations not experimenting so much and maybe
mm,
just pick one or two things and go deeper on them. And, that might be related to how we're trying to experience AI ourselves, right? We're trying all these different things.
yeah,
And, one of the refrains from the business media was, well, maybe stop trying so many experiments, pick one or two and see if you can actually bring it into production. Like the number of organizations that have true AI, platforms and initiatives really in market making a difference is relatively small still.
yeah. Which kind of is going to lead into this conversation for this podcast, which is the impact on jobs. Um, but to your point, we've tested lots of things. We have a couple that have gone all the way down and are in production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you're right. I mean, I find two things with that. One is it's not as easy as it looks to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to handle all the edge cases
Yeah.
if you want it to be a true tool that's going to replace somebody, right? So that's one challenge, and the other side, which I think we'll get into a little bit later, more so, is especially larger organizations are very complex, and
Mm-hmm.
and yes, AI is very smart and knows a lot, but there is just so much tribal knowledge um, embedded that I believe AI will get there, but
Yeah.
at least the smaller repetitive tasks, yeah, I get it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But the more complex actually running of the business, especially large IT projects and things
Yeah.
like that, like we're a big fan of Claude Code and Cursor, like these tools
Mm-hmm.
that help us code faster and very impactful on the speed and the accuracy of, well, the speed of what we do.
Right.
Definitely you need to kind of teach the tools the way you
Mm-hmm.
want things done, and you definitely need to check and recheck the stuff, because sometimes it does things um, sometimes that don't make sense, and sometimes that maybe do make sense
Mm-hmm.
but don't apply to what you're doing. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally, sometimes it surprises you. You're like, "Oh yeah, I guess I should have thought of that."
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
so
Yeah.
I definitely, but yeah. So,
Yeah. And what's interesting, and I think that's kind of like work life anyway, all those three states of mind that you
hmm
experience there, right? Whether it's with tools like AI or not. But one example that maybe I'll bring up that will tie us into the conversation from what you just said about organizations being so complex and having so much tribal knowledge. Yesterday, I was on the UPS site and I was trying to chat with the chatbot about, okay, where is my package that, I
Right.
was told was coming today? And, I was asking it these questions and finally it said, I'm still learning. And I thought that was so interesting, right?
It
And,
is,
and
but from a pure customer experience, it
right.
sucks.
Right. And so to the complexity of, if you were talking to a customer service rep, they would probably be able to like dive in and do a bit more for you. But
Yeah.
these chatbots they're still very clunky, a bit rudimentary, and it's really just this or that. It's not a
Yeah.
complex question and a
It's
complex answer.
all those edge cases, right?
Right? Exactly, exactly. So, which is, I think, a good segue into one of the areas that is very much, touted as job loss from AI is customer service.
Yeah.
And you can see that a lot of organizations are using the chatbots, but it's like level one and level two service, right? And so there's
So
still
which one's level one?
well, no, sorry. I guess well, fair enough. So if I think of it as level one as like entry level service, and then level two support,
Right.
and I think that's interesting in terms of can it help with the easy questions, but is it fully replacing these edge cases, these complicated questions that
Yeah.
customers have? So I
But
think that's an interesting one.
so one of the tools that we leverage AI for, um, we don't use it completely, right? We'll kind of put a man in the middle on every task. Now,
Hmm.
because what we're doing is very unique. It's like everything's an edge case, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of get what we can, which is very helpful and speeds things up a lot. And if all goes well, it's almost completely through. But we do put a man in the middle kind of every time. But the
Hmm.
beauty of that too is when you put the man in the middle and you can use that data to train too, right? Because now you've had these real scenarios where, okay, in this case, this is the answer, which is
Hmm.
exactly what you need to kind of train in AI, right? We haven't got quite to the point yet where we're consolidating all that data and training further, but um, yeah. So
Yeah.
so I guess back to our topic of
Yeah.
impact of AI on job loss. Some of the predictions are that it's, what did I see, 83 million jobs are supposed to disappear globally in the next couple of years or something like that. And these are not typically, and it's kind of the reverse of what we've seen in in history, where it's
Hmm.
the labor jobs that are going away. Now it's the white collar jobs that are going away. Um, you know, especially repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
And I see that and I get it. And that happy path stuff is easy to do, to automate. And then if you throw in sort of exceptions that go to man in the middle to or human in the loop or whatever, I guess it's
Yeah.
human in the loop, not man in the
Yeah.
middle. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
I can you hear Amazon laying off people saying it's because of AI, as well as I think what I see Target, it's,
Salesforce. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
IBM. I don't think they said they're laying off people, but they're not replacing people, things
Right.
like that, right?
Hmm.
The big question is, what is, and nobody knows, right? Nobody. It's a complete guess for sure. But I guess the hope is that it's going to create new jobs, and I can see that for sure, in at least in the short term. Um, you know, Jobs that help to set up the AIs
Hmm.
and to
Hmm.
leverage the information from the AIs. So definitely a shift in work. But what's after that, right?
Yeah.
Once you do that, once it can teach itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are the roles? And it's interesting. So I found this really useful sort of categorization. The International Monetary Fund did something the end of 2024, and it classified AI's effects into three categories. First is automatable, so the routine rules based tasks, augmentable, judgment driven tasks, and then unaffected tasks. And they say that two-thirds of jobs are expected to experience partial automation. And, to your point around, human in the loop. very much that complementarity between AI and the human labor, where decision making is required, or pattern recognition and knowledge retrieval. If you think about pattern recognition, I think that's something AI can do well. Um, Back to your point around the tribal knowledge, it may not be able to recognize the patterns that the tribal knowledge might know, but I think there are some patterns. Definitely knowledge retrieval it could help with. But it's interesting in terms of really thinking about where are the roles in the kinds of tasks that these roles have. Are they automatable? Are they augmentable? Are they unaffected? And then where do you think about guiding yourself to
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and for a long time, we used to think that certain we'll call them blue collar jobs were kind of like irreplaceable. Um, HVAC technician, good example.
Mhm,
Honestly, right now, I think if you're an HVAC technician, you can probably make a ton of money and work real hard for the next 10 years and
mhm.
do very well because, the data centers alone, the technicians needed there, I think, is astronomical. Um, but I mean, you've got AI, but you also have, humanoid robots that are
Mhm.
coming along fast and furious. And when you combine the two, and they're talking about local uh, LLMs now that are small and efficient enough, especially if you specialize them to
Mhm.
run locally on your phone or your humanoid robot, right? So you combine a specialized LLM for HVAC technicians into a humanoid robot, and now you have a guy. First of all, it doesn't, or not a guy, a tool that
Yeah.
doesn't care about the heat or the cold and knows what to do and can go out there 24/7. And it's I'm not sure what's safe anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's short term safe and there's long term safe, and I think short
Yeah.
term safe is kind of we're able to figure it out, but long term, who knows?
Hmm. And I do think so. Things like healthcare,
Mm,
um, you know, that's where it's probably augmentable to a degree. So if you think about like surgery, there are so many robots involved in surgery now, but the surgeon is always there, guiding, ensuring, all that
yeah,
kind of thing, right? You think about nursing care, that's very human centric still. Your point around some of the trades jobs, you know, some of it will be easy to maybe put a robot in place, but some of it is going to be complicated. And just thinking about a plumber and like having to literally get in underneath something and take it apart and put it back together again. How easy can a robot do that in the next few years? Not really. So I think that's interesting. And then if we maybe think a bit about, I keep thinking about the generations that are following us.
hmm
And on the one hand, there's the aspect of, what tasks can get automated or what tasks can be done by AI. But so much of work is actually the effectiveness of work comes from this social connectivity. And we're losing a lot of that with the younger generations already, whether it's they're on their social media, they text you rather than they phone you, like all those kind of things. They're working remotely and they're not getting the benefits of osmosis and the apprenticeship and all that. And so how do we help them figure out like what roles, what tasks, what industries would be helpful even in the next 10 years? Because, like, I don't think we can predict well beyond that. Like,
10
we're
months, I
talking,
would say.
well, maybe 10 months. You're right. Yeah. But I think that's an interesting question around, um, you know, in legal, you're going to get a lot of, legal work that is very much automated. You're going to get a lot of accounting work that is very much automated. I spent the weekend with a former McKinsey consultant, and she's like, all the grunt work can be done by AI now. It's that interaction with the client and really understanding their problem and how to help them with solving their problem, where I see that we can still have an impact. But it's not so much the big strategic what do you call it, cases that they're working on anymore. It's very much how do we help them with very specific problems. So it's interesting in terms of where we guide people.
I don't know if I agree there though. I mean, because all those things that you talked about, like the big picture. I mean, if the if the LLM asks you enough questions, it will give you that answer, right? And maybe a better answer than a person in that specific scenario, right? Like accountant or financial advisor or whatever, right? At least, and maybe not today, but but I do believe you're on the right track somewhere in that, I kind of like to think that the AI knows how to do it. They don't necessarily know what to do. And the human part of it right now is the magic is finding out what to do next.
Yeah,
And
directing.
that's the creativity side of it a bit too, right? Is like, hey, we're going to create a business that does this. Now, once you decide that, you can definitely leverage AI to figure out all the tactics of how to do that stuff. But I have still have trouble gelling that into something concrete that I can say this is what you should go do, because even that, they talk about AIs that do artwork and other creative things that are write music, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's,
Yeah,
what is safe?
right. It's true. And for me, maybe as we wrap this one, I'd sort of come back to um, I love Simon Sinek's Golden Circle
Hmm.
and starting with why. And so you talked about that how to do things. At this stage of the game, AI can help you with the how to get it done. If you start with why you're trying to do something, that has to come from the creativity of the person. And then what you might do, I think, can be that combination, that interaction between the human and the AI, looking at all of history to help you with the what, and then perhaps it can actually do some of the hows for you. But I think if we think about it as why, what, how, that might be an interesting way to sort of think about where the human is involved and where the AI is involved today. Who knows in 5 years, in
Yeah.
5 months?
But I think for you and I, that all makes sense, right? Because we kind of run businesses and that kind of level of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're not into that, right? If you want a steady job, um, doing something to make money, but you've got other interests. You're not really
Yeah.
focused on being the boss and starting your own business. How much of that stuff applies to you, right? And where do you fit in that story?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
one point I was even thinking, well, maybe the real job, which sounds crazy to me, is being an influencer or something like that, right? It's kind of where you're connecting with people. But then they've got AI influencers now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
nothing's.
I think it's very much maybe the jobs right now are that true interaction of physical and judgment, right? Doing something physical and needing the judgment to know like the what, why, how to do
Mhm.
it. Maybe that's where, for now, the opportunities are safe.
Yeah. Although timeline, I do think it's longer than I think that technology will be there
Yeah.
faster than we think.
Yeah.
I think the adoption and actually understanding and deployment of it in an effective way
Yeah.
is longer than some
Yeah.
people think.
And I also I agree with that, and because there's still so much more learning that these AI platforms and tools need to do to be fully conversant. See also our conversation around um, UPS and I'm
Yeah.
still learning.
Yeah. And to my point, I think it's more, not necessarily more, but also the people need to learn even more so, like not only how to leverage the AI, but where
Yeah.
they should leverage the AI
Yeah.
and how to deploy it.
Yeah. Which,
Interesting.
which is a good segue into maybe a next topic next time.
There you go.
There we go. Good.
All right. Well, this was
All right.
fun.
Excellent. Onward.
Got me thinking again about my AI journey. I need to re-immerse myself.
There
So,
you go. Okay. Well, we'll chat again about it soon.
all right, sounds good.
All right.
Onward.
Onward.